I don't know who it will notify anyway. Like, 'cause you haven't tagged me, have you? You try and tag me.
Nope.
Don't work.
It hasn't notified me.
I know. That's a problem. I'll share it. You can share it. But we might as well get started. So we are Kerry and Molly from BEB, and we've said today that we was going to do a Q&A on any of your questions and things and answer those. So we've had a few questions come in, but Molly, do you want to talk a bit about what we do?
Yes, so BEB are obviously contract and legal services, so we do any kind of contract help that you need. So we can write contracts, we can review contracts, we can renegotiate them, and we always try and do this on a fixed price basis.
Yeah, Tracy's watching us. So we had some questions come in that were posted on Twitter and on Facebook. So we're just going to work through those as well first, and then hopefully then we might get a few more coming through. Which one?
So I think there was one on before from Rick on Facebook. He asked, how easy would it be to have a white label or freelance contract where they offer out their services to be resold as the client's own work?
Yeah, so we kind of, when we looked at this question, we was thinking it's probably beneficial to have two different contracts here. So if you're white labeling something, you're essentially going to be doing work on behalf of another company. So you're effectively the subcontractor. So you'd have your own set of terms and conditions, and having that between you and your client. If you're then going to be a freelancer, or you're going to be subbing the work out, you need to then have a subcontractor agreement. So it depends on which way you're looking at it and which angle. But like we say, I think, in that instance you are looking at two separate agreements, but it is very easy. So that was ultimately what the question was: how easy is it? It is very easy. You're just making sure that your obligations are there, and the clients or whoever your freelancer is their obligations there as well. Hi Tom, glad you're here.
Tom's joined. Okay. I think there was another contract also from Rick as well, where he asked, what's the best approach to a monthly retainer contract where the value and the work on their side can change from month to month? Sending a new contract, as he mentioned, isn't necessarily feasible. So yeah, it's quite a good kind of question. Often things do change. I think Rick works in merchandising, so a lot of things can change, and I think he does a bit of advertising, that sort of thing as well. And so what we kind of generally suggest to people is that you do kind of like a retainer based on hours. So work out roughly how many hours you're going to use over the course of the year, and you can leave it to be quite open. So you can have maybe 60 hours over the year, and if you work it out month on month, then that's 5 hours a month. But it might be actually that they use 10 hours one month, 15 the next, and then they don't use you for 2 months. So we often recommend something like that, as just sort of you buy a package of hours to use as and when over the year as a retainer.
Yeah, and then obviously, like Molly says, if you are doing something different each month, and you end up using up all your hours, you always can increase that level of hours or what have you for even mid-term and just change it that way.
Yeah. We've got a few more people joined. We've got Kerry's sisters joined. Luke's joined.
Luke's joined.
Tom's watching as well. Tom is in my BNI. He does wealth management. Great guy.
I'm trying to share it. Why is it not working? Why can't I just share it to my page? I don't get it.
I'm not sure.
Oh, I can now. Cool. I think there was a question that came up. I don't know if we get it.
I can't see
the live one
anymore. Trying to see them.
There was something. I think it was something about how often we should review your contract.
No, I can't see anything.
I think it was about like how often you should review. So if you've got a sort of set of terms and conditions or what have you for your business, then we would recommend having a review, especially when you are changing your services or what have you, or doing something very different. But every couple of years, or if the law changes, for example, when data protection, that was a huge thing a couple of years back. That was kind of a good idea to, when you're trying to get all your ducks in a row, to have a look at your current terms then. But essentially, it's only kind of when you are changing your services that you're doing that you might want to relook at them.
Yeah, we have some clients who come back to us every 6 months to a year, and they do say, shall we update our contract, shall we review them? And we say, has anything changed? And often it's, no, nothing's changed, so you don't need to.
Yeah, and if it's working, it also might be that you've had a problem, or someone's not paid, and it's something else that you thought about that you might want to add into your contract. But other than that,
we had Adam Stevens also mention, what are the top 3 inquiries you get as a business?
Well, we've said, because we obviously do lots of different contracts, we do contract negotiation, reviewing contracts as well, but we agreed that the top 3 was terms and conditions, especially for startup businesses, which is always good to see, shareholder agreements, and then on the JCT side of things, we get a lot of inquiries regarding JCTs and reviews and that sort of thing.
Which often Tom, who's watching, helps with.
Hi Tom, thanks Tom. Oh, Chloe's here.
Chloe's joined. I think
Chloe.
a few other people have actually as well.
Yeah.
Ben, who was in our video as well, joined.
Oh yeah.
Does everyone kind of be great to like this and sort of comment where you're from,
loads
if
of
you've got a
comments.
business.
Shares.
Yeah, if you've got a business, it'd be great to shout out in the comments just to let everyone know.
Because we've got to make this worth
who you
it.
are.
Me and Molly drank too much last night to this not be worth it.
I think there was another question also from Adam again.
Oh yeah. What exactly is contract law?
Um,
Don't know.
do you want to take it or shall I?
Yeah, I mean, essentially contract law is the area of law that regulates contracts. So if you've got a contract between 2 or more parties, and there's a contract in place and one party fails in their obligations, fails in their promise, because it's a promise for a promise, then contract law basically provides you that avenue to be able to, the courts to enforce that promise. It's one, I think, is it one of the oldest laws?
Yeah, there's loads of
Because it's, there's no one act that you can go to, like it's, in legislation. Obviously, you've got your Unfair Terms Act, and then you've got Consumer Terms Acts. But in terms of business-to-business contracts, there's nothing that kind of regulates it fully. A lot of it is case law, and if you ever read any judgments, that I do, weirdly, you'll see that they then use a lot of old case law to make their decisions and stuff. I don't know if that really answers the question. I don't know. It's just a law that regulates contracts, between 2 or more parties, really.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think, didn't we have on another question somewhere that, what is a contract?
Yeah.
Which kind of follows on quite nicely. A contract is you have to have, there needs to be 4 elements to satisfy that it is a contract. It can be verbal, but often you want it written because then there's proof of exactly what was agreed. Where am I going with this?
So there's the 4 parts to a contract. There's offer, so someone offers something, say for example you send out your quotation, then someone accepts it, someone says, yeah, I'm happy with that price, I want to go ahead. There's always got to be some sort of consideration, so something of value being passed between the 2 of you.
Money.
So often, as she says, money, but it could be a swap of services. It could be, we're going to write your T's and C's in exchange for, I don't know, you buying us some beers. It could be anything. It doesn't necessarily have money, but it's just something value being passed. And then that last part is, 4th part is that it's got to be an intention to create legal relations. So it's, say for example, if I lend Kerry at £5, I'm not going to expect, if she doesn't pay me back, to actually sue for that. But in a business-to-business contract, if you were, I don't know, a cleaning company or a graphic designer and you didn't get paid, you would expect to be able to sue for that and pursue that legally.
And often, like I say, you can have a verbal agreement for there to be a contract in place. And we often see where two businesses have agreed something, but they will say, oh no, there was no contract. What they actually mean was that there was no terms to that contract, because there is a contract in place there. So Daniel, what would you say to someone who thinks they don't need a contract? I would say you're always,
saying.
So always need to be having terms to what's been agreed, because if you go down, something happens later on down the line in your business relationship and you haven't sort of written everything down that you've been agreed, that's when disputes start to happen and you won't get paid, or, what else can happen?
Yeah, so often, people say we don't need a contract. Maybe they're best friends or they think it's too simple. But as Kerry said, writing down every little thing that can go wrong is so important. So that's why we suggest getting a contract and as well making it written. So you've got proof of all those little things that can go wrong. So it could be you've done some extras. It could be that they cancel late. It could be anything like that. But unless it's all written down and all set out clearly, you don't know where you stand on those other bits.
And we look at it like an insurance policy. You might never actually rely on having to do an insurance claim, but you have insurance for your business, right? So you might never have to rely on your terms and conditions or your contracts or what have you. But if you ever get into a position where you're going to need that contract, you'll wish you've had one. So, oh good. Low battery. Okay, so we had another question about terms and conditions legally binding if they are not signed. So it kind of flows quite nicely. Yes, they are. You don't always need to have a signature to bound someone by the terms and conditions. An acceptance email, WhatsApp, etc., is enough. What you do need to do, if you are business to business, is make reference to those terms and conditions, and that's it. You don't even have to actually send them. So if you're sending out a proposal and you're laying out exactly what the cost is, what's been agreed in terms of services delivered, and obviously the parties' names, it's really important to have who you're actually entering a contract with, and whether there's any term or anything. So any of the particulars of the contract written on the proposal, and then you refer it to the terms and conditions, and then you attach that, and then often we just get back, yes please go ahead, and then or they pay the deposit, which kind of signifies that they want to instruct you. We've stopped getting signatures. We actually used to. Yeah, and then we realised it's not needed.
We practice what we preach.
Yeah.
Say this is what we tell our clients quite a lot. So we decided actually we can move away from getting traditional signatures.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I did write on a recent
Adam telling me he loves my nails.
One of the recent blogs I did about this was also it's quite important to mention exactly how that contract is formed in the terms if you've got them. So if the terms does actually say that you do need a written signature, a wet signature, that maybe it's witness and there's all sorts, then that contract is likely to be argued not to have been agreed if there is a signature box that hasn't been signed.
Yeah, I think when we review terms, a lot of the times they miss out the contract formation, don't they, in the terms and conditions. So it's always kind of just housekeeping, isn't it? Just kind of
knowing exactly when that contract starts from is very important.
Yes. Don't know if we've got.
I don't know if we've had any in the message,
No.
but I think
We answered. Was it Daniel's one? We was answering that. So
I think there was also one, what terms and conditions should be on a website. We regularly say, technically, there isn't anything official and legal. There isn't a legal requirement for anyone to have T's and C's, which is unusual and completely mad. But
unless it's e-commerce. And it's for
but if it is,
consumers.
as I say, e-commerce, we recommend that every single time, if you have an online shop, that sort of thing, because you're generally selling to consumers, you should let them know exactly what the T's and C's are that they're signing up to. And as we just mentioned, it doesn't have to be a signature, it can be a tick box. you've tick boxed, I'm sure, on Amazon, on eBay, on what have you before. So
I
yeah.
agree to the terms and conditions. It's like one of the biggest lies ever. You know, I've read and agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you do on your do website terms of use on websites.
Yeah. There is actually a legal requirement to have a privacy policy. Ever since obviously GDPR changed things. So having that privacy policy, letting people know exactly what you do with their data, how they can control their data, is so important, and is, as of May 2018, is actually legal requirement.
There we go. That's what we do every day then. I think we'll probably wrap it up now then.
Yeah. Any other questions?
If anyone's got any other questions, obviously the video will stay up, so just like pop them in the comments and we can reply to them. Yeah. Or maybe Molly will come back on live.
No, I won't. I've got calls. I've got calls to do. Tracy said, should we get our contracts reviewed post GDPR and Brexit, etc.?
Well, yeah, like we said, because there was a question earlier on about how often we should get contracts reviewed, and we said that it was kind of like a good idea at that time when you were looking at sorting out your GDPR and updating maybe the data protection clause, then you can kind of review them then. Brexit, it depends on if you're dealing with importing and exporting goods. Really, we have done some Brexit clauses that basically, I won't bore you with that, but so it depends on what you actually are doing. If you're just doing business to business and you're doing UK, Brexit has absolutely no. Yeah,
we've had a lot of people ask, what can we write about it? And we can write whatever you want to write in your contracts, but at the moment, for the majority of businesses, nothing's actually changed.
I think with the trades, with the materials and stuff coming in, I think the cost of those have gone a bit sky high. So you need to be able to reserve the right to charge additional for those should it cost more. But other than that, no problem, Daniel. Thank you for saying thank you.
Who's our typical customer? It really does vary so much. It's generally a business owner that's quite busy, maybe doesn't really understand what they've got to do, and often it's people who've had problems in the past, so they've maybe not been paid, they've been messed around by their customers, and so it's people who want to protect themselves from that happening in the future. It's generally small businesses, SMEs, and as I say, generally the business owner we like to speak to.
Yeah, you're right though. I think so many times, even if they're a start-up, they were like, I've been burnt before, so they then know what to do the next time. Especially with shareholder agreements, I think you speak to so many that are starting up a business who have got other shareholders in the limited company, and they know to have an agreement in place this time because it went all wrong before and there wasn't anything in place. It's really hard think about who our typical customer is, because we literally
we've done all sorts. We've done your builder, your hairdressers.
One of my favourite clients is recruitment. She's not watching.
You had a farmer the other week.
Oh yeah, farmer. Cow insemination.
We do absolutely all sorts. Builders, tradesmen, graphic design, whatever you can do. Everyone needs a set of T's and C's in a business.
Yeah, marketing. Literally everything. Yeah, HR, all of them, every single one.
I think is that.
Yeah. It? Oh, look, Adam's just on it. Don't even have showers. Why do you think this is? I think it's generally because they don't think that they need it. They don't think that anything's going to go wrong. You don't go into business thinking it's going to go wrong, right? Because why would you? And you often go into business with a family member or a friend, so you never think that anything is going to go wrong there because obviously you trust them. Adam, I've never inseminated a cow. No, me neither. So I just it is that they have so much trust, which is great, but it isn't just about protecting should there be a disagreement or should things go wrong between the two parties, but what about in the eventuality of death.
It could even be you want to grow the business and bring on more partners. What happens then? Do you sell your shares? Do you create more shares? What happens to those shares? It could be you want to sell the business completely, and get out of it, and it might be £1 million business that you've grown, and you want to sell it and live off that £1 million.
A shareholder agreement literally just like it covers everything off, and it's not a bad thing. It doesn't show. It's not like I don't know, because some people have prenuptial agreements for weddings, don't they? And some people think that looks really bad, but I don't think it's bad.
No, it's just protecting yourself. As you said, like insurance, it's just like having an insurance policy, letting you know exactly what happens when things change, when things go wrong. And we say a lot of people don't think they need it.
Until something goes wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've got some stories. Not for Facebook. Cool. Okay. Unless Adam's going to hit us with another one. Although he's talking about inseminating cows.
We still don't know how to do it.
No. Yeah, protecting the business as well. Yeah, exactly. Because if you've got two shareholders that are arguing, what's the business sitting there doing? They're
you can't move on
can't
from
move.
that.
Yeah, you can't move. You can't grow. You can't make decisions amicably. So.
And when things do go wrong, well, when money's involved, people tend to get a little bit angry and a little bit arsier. So, if things aren't going the way that they planned,
Like I had a client meeting today, and I think they've been in business 5 years, and it's about time now that they actually got a shareholder agreement. But at least they know, it's better late than never. But how come they're not? Oh, there she goes. Why does Chloe, who works with us, has to ask us the most complicated question?
Do my terms and conditions become part of my intellectual property? How can I stop people copying them?
I actually don't.
So technically you can't really stop anyone copying them. If they're going to copy them, they're going to copy them. We suggest to a lot of people you don't actually put them on your website. You only deal with people who send them to your prospects, your quotations, that sort of thing. And so that people are less likely to copy them.
Yeah.
But obviously it is still your intellectual property, so you can still go off and try and sort of sue them for that. But it's very difficult sometimes to even know that it's been copied.
Yeah. The amount of people that will come to us and be like, yeah, I've got terms and conditions, but I kind of copied them. And then they sheepishly send them over on email.
Yeah.
Because that's what they've done. They've literally just copied and pasted from competitors, or oh, Rick's here now. Hi, Rick.
We've answered
your questions. So like Molly was saying, I would never, unless you literally need to, like with your e-commerce consumer shop type thing, you don't need to put your terms and conditions on your website, because you are opening them up for them to just be stolen.
It all happened with Seaborne Freight, didn't it? That government contract a few years ago, where they were supposed to be shipping.
That was Adam who actually told me about that. He was like, do a post on this. I was like, yes.
Yeah, they were supposed to be shipping, and instead they did takeaways. So
yeah, it was a takeaway contract.
Very easy to steal the wrong contract.
Yeah. Adam wants an example of when a shareholder agreement's gone wrong. I can't tell you mine.
Due to a lack of T's and C's, all shareholders.
Yeah.
So we have had a few kind of shareholders that go wrong, and it's often, as we say, people wanting to leave and they don't necessarily get the right amount of money from their agreement for their shares that they want. So it might have been that the agreement was written a long time ago, they signed it without even realising, and maybe it said that when they leave the business, if they leave early, that their shares are only worth £1, and so they're kind of out of pocket then. I think that happened.
I think that the biggest problem with just not having terms and conditions is literally just not getting paid for the work you've done. Like, websites, believe it or not, some websites cost, excess £20,000-30,000 depending on the functionality of that website. And if you're then charging a deposit, stage payments, and you're relying on your client to then deliver, you know, or agreeing stuff, and it can all get really messy if there's no terms in place. And I have seen that happen, and he just did not end up getting paid for the work he'd done. And then the client was like, well, you haven't done what we agreed you were going to deliver, and yeah, and then it's a lot of time wasted. You're not getting your money. You've literally got no proof to even be able to start court proceedings and take them to a small claims because there's nothing there. And yeah, it's basically non-payment, or you know, just terms of delays and variations and things like that.
It can be all sorts.
Yeah.
I think your recruitment client that you were talking about earlier is often they're supplying people on a temporary basis, and obviously taking their recruitment costs and fees through, and then all of a sudden they go direct to that worker, so that they don't need to pay the fees. It's kind of like non-payment, but it is also non-solicitation, so non-competition. So they're stealing your clients, your workers.
Yeah. What's the
Oh,
question?
Yeah, I shared something on LinkedIn earlier. The Brewdog company, they had a competition going where they advertised that you could win a solid gold can of Brewdog, and it's supposed to be worth, I think, £15,000 or something. And this guy sort of got his can, he actually won the competition, and turned out that that can was only gold plated, and their T's and C's said that it was fine, it didn't specify that it had to be fully solid gold. So they got away with it.
That's a bit, well, not the same for Betfred, was it? More recently I did LinkedIn post on Betfred, and he thought he'd won a certain amount of money, I can't remember now, but it was a hell of a lot of money. And was it Betfred?
Mm-hmm.
One of them. And Betfred basically said, oh no, we got it wrong. They sent him a congratulations email. He was like celebrating. He went into his overdraft, having big parties, celebrating all this money he'd won. And then a few days later, they were like, oh no, sorry, we got it wrong. There was a technical glitch. And he said, our terms and conditions say that we don't have to pay you if there's a technical glitch. But the guy actually won because, yeah,
As a consumer, courts like to look after consumers.
yeah. And I think they had a genuine good argument.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that the jackpot that wasn't?
Yeah, yeah. I also read the judgment of that on a Friday night.
Exciting.
Yes.
I think it's 1:30 now. Shall we wrap it up?
Yeah, because I think your battery's going to die as well.
Yeah, possibly. I did try plugging it in. Might not have worked. So yeah, thank you for everyone who's still here. I think we've still got 8 people watching. So yeah, if you have any other questions, let us know in the comments, and yeah, it'd be great to hear from anyone who needs our help.
Rock and roll lifestyle Friday night T's and C's. Rick, if you really believe that about me, then you don't know me at all, do you?
It was a Tuesday night rock and roll.
Yeah, Tuesday night rock and roll. That was her fault last night.
So,
Cool. Thanks so much.
thanks.